Are you ready for this? Another long-awaited recipe straight from Gaza. Hey folks, I'm Aslan Law from linsfood.com and Singaporean MalaysianRecipes.com. Today's recipe is a very traditional prawn or shrimp dish from Gaza, from Palestine. It's called Zibdiyit Gambari. Let's do a quick talk about our recipe today. It is prawns or shrimp cooked in tomato sauce with a little bit of spices and some green chillies for a bit of spice. And everything is cooked in a clay pot. You'll remember our Gazan clay pots from our da'a recipe from some time back. Basically, Zibdiya are little clay pots found in every single Gazan household, just like you would pestle and mortar in many cultures in the world. They are an essential tool in the kitchen, and you have a wooden pestle to pound things in, whether it's spices, whether it's salad ingredients, and so on. But your Zibdiya can also be found in bigger sizes to cook in, and the whole dish is taken to the table and served as it is. Now, the Zibdiya used in Gaza is unglazed, of course, because that's the only way you're going to get the flavor. So if you have access to an unglazed clay pot, a pottery somewhere, go take a look. Now, one quick word before we take a super fast look at the ingredients is that if you're going to cook on your stove if you're going to cook in your clay pot in a stove, don't forget your diffuser. I have an old recipe on how to season a clay pot before your first use right there. Now let's take a look at our recipe, Zibdiyit Gambari, which is basically prawns or shrimp cooked in a tomato-based sauce. It's not overly saucy, but it's not overly dry either. A quick look at the ingredients. So we've got prawns, deveined and shelled, or shrimp, and we've got chopped up tomatoes. The traditional recipe would use fresh tomatoes grown in Gaza and chopped up. But I like to use chopped tomatoes from a can. I find the flavor of canned chopped tomatoes so much deeper than fresh tomatoes. And off season, that's what I go for. But when I have lots of fresh tomatoes in the garden in the summer, I'll be using chopped up fresh tomatoes too. If the flavors allow, I will go for sun-dried tomato paste, once again, for its depth of flavor. So that's what I've got here, but use regular concentrated tomato paste if you prefer. And then spices-wise, we've got some ground cumin, some allspice. I've gone for allspice as opposed to a bit of cinnamon, cardamom, and so on because, hey, it's allspice. And we've got some pepper, salt, sugar, usual thing. And then as far as the herbs are concerned, I'm not going to be using all of this, but we've got fresh dill just to add some flavor. And then the aromatics, we've got a medium onion, couple of green chilies, hot or mild, again, completely up to you. And we've got a couple of garlic cloves. And then when we're done cooking, some water. And then when we're done cooking, I'm going to finish our prawn dish with a sprinkle of chili flakes, sesame seeds, and chopped up parsley, as well as a little bit of olive oil. This is the last of my olive oil from a dear friend of mine, Fida, who is Palestinian. It's from her family. The last little bit of the oil that she gave me. And that's it. If you want to read up more about the ingredients, also the differing methods sometimes that I employ when I finish with the recipe, head on over to linsfood.com, link over there, and you can read up to your heart's content. We are going to get cooking. Look at this. So I placed this for 5 minutes under the grill after cooking it on the stove for about 5 to, I think 7 minutes it was. Because I was putting it under the grill, I didn't go the full 10 minutes on the stove. 5 minutes under the grill, 7 minutes on the stove. So the prawns are done, but what you get is that beautiful crust at the top with brown bits, which just adds to the flavor. So it's all done. What we're going to do now is just drizzle some olive oil all over it. I've got Palestinian olive oil from Palestine, from a friend of mine, as I mentioned earlier, from Fida. And then a little bit of parsley, some sesame seeds, and some chili flakes. All done, all garnished, all drizzled. The only thing that's left is a taste test, right? So you just need some bread. And scoop some up. I'm going to just go for the gravy because everything is still boiling hot. So good. Tomato-based stews, dishes, if that's your thing, are always something special, aren't they? There are so many tomato-based stews around the world in different cuisines, whether we're talking North African cuisine, Italian, French. It is a very, very popular and traditional style of cooking in many cuisines. And this one, Zibdiyit Gambari, is from Gaza. Synonymous with Gaza, given its coast. You are going to absolutely love this recipe. How do you serve it? Some bread. What type of bread? Middle Eastern flatbread, Italian flatbread, North African flatbread, baguette. It really doesn't matter. Anything to soak up that delicious tomato-based sauce. No clay pot, no sweat. Just cook it in a regular, shallow-ish pan. Since we're not covering it at all, frying pan, a deepish frying pan will do. As you can see, my clay pot, still hot. My clay pot isn't very deep. It's just about that deep. So that's if you haven't got a clay pot, right? Any saucepan will do. Need to make it vegetarian because you don't eat meat, don't eat seafood? Not a problem. Use whatever you would usually cook with. So if tofu is your thing, add tofu. If vegan protein things, chunks are your thing, you can use those. I use that all the time for my children. Or just use stew-friendly vegetables or any vegetables you fancy. Peas would be great in this. Green beans would be great in this. Now, if you're using stew-type vegetables like aubergines and courgettes, eggplants and zucchinis, you will want to add those right at the start when you're simmering. If you're using green beans and say capsicum, bell peppers, then you add them, you cook them for just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on whether you're using a clay pot or a regular saucepan. One more thing, the times for your cooking times will differ between using a clay pot and a regular saucepan. Regular saucepans will cook things much quicker than your clay pot will, because the clay pots take a while to come up to simmering point for starters. And so there you have it, Zibdiyit Gambari, a beautiful, beautiful prawn dish from Gaza. I know you're going to love this as much as I do. I shall see you guys real soon.